Hi everybody. We're going to go on to part 6 today, and in part 6 what we're going to be doing is the first part of the menu. We're not going to be making anything super crazy like a progression or anything like a level select screen or anything like that. We're just going to be building the basic menu where you can select where you want to go. And so to do that, we're basically going to be splitting up our UI that we started working on. So this is this one, and then this is going to be the UI header file. And basically, you can kind of tell we have these two, like render menu and then render Sokoban. And then, interestingly, in the main C++ file, if we go down a little bit, we have this kind of crazy looking thing right here where we're kind of doing the update inside of it. And we're basically just going to be simplifying it a lot. And so to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a menu class, or a struct in this case, and we're going to make it the C++. And then we're also going to make a menu header file. And then we're going to do a pragma once. And now we can actually start doing the menu. So we'll make it a menu. And there's only going to be one thing we actually care about in here, which is going to be a size t. And then we'll do it like user selection, we'll just call it for right now, and we'll initialize it to 0 by default. And then we'll have this, we'll separate that out a little bit. And then we're gonna have, I'm gonna move away from what I've kind of been doing in like the Sokoban header file thing, where I kind of defined a struct and then I defined a bunch of functions over here. And I'm just gonna kind of make it part of the struct. Just because the current way of like I think it's gonna be just a little bit cleaner. I was experimenting with the other way, and I think this is maybe a little bit better, but maybe we'll change our minds and we'll go back to the other way. Regardless, there's going to be two functions we need to have, and I'm going to do const int, and we're going to do user input. Actually, we're not even going to define it here, but you'll notice that originally I was doing the, we're going to return a state. So you'll notice I'm not using a char anymore, and that's just because I learned when I was reading some of ncurse's stuff that I should be using an int. So that is my bad. And the other thing we're going to do is a render, and that's going to be that. And I'm going to actually come back to the const stuff. For now, we're not going to mess with the const, but we'll come back to it in the next video. So what we need to do in here is we need to go into here, and we want to include menu header file, like so. And then we need to define these two functions. So we have state, menu, update, const int, user input. And it's saying, it's complaining because we're not returning anything right now. So I'll just return the original state that it's in right now. And then the other function that we need to handle is the render function. And it's not complaining because we don't need to return anything here. So what I'll do is I'll come into here, and I'm just going to take all of this, and we're not actually going to use most of it, but I'm just going to put it here. And it's complaining because we're not including ncurses. So there we go there. And I'm just going to delete this. So now, right now, if we try to do a make, it's going to complain. I'm also, I'll come back to that in just a second. So we can actually close that. And the next thing to do, I kind of want to go into the main menu real quick, or the main thing, and I just want to declare our menu. It's going to say we don't have it, so I'm going to have that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to start calling some render functions. And I'm assuming we're going to have some compile errors. But I'm going to comment this out. And the reason why is I'm going to have, let me actually change this to an int while we're here. And I'm going to change this so we now have a switch state. Ooh, that was tough typing. So we do that, and then we can have it give us that. Then we can do this. And now all we're going to do for right now is we're just going to call menu.update. and then we'll pass it the user input, and then we'll do the current state is equal to this. So that looks fine, and then we're going like this. That's going to cause an error, and then we'll do state equals Sokoban dot update. Actually, we're never going to change the state right now, but oh yeah, I'm doing it like this. Sorry. Update Sokoban, and then we'll do user input. We'll do that, and we'll also just update these real quick. So we're going to change this to an int, and then I'll do that, and then we'll also go into Sokoban, the header file real quick, update, and then we'll update this so there's no error there. All right, so that looks fine in terms of that. We need to figure out what's wrong with the menu thing. So it's taking a const user input. Is it just a wrong, yeah, so I had a colon instead of a semicolon. Okay, so now I can do this. I know some people like to do it like this. I just kind of like this. That's just me though. But anyways, you can see I have a bad comment here. This should be update. And then the next thing to do is actually do the rendering. So we'll just take this and we'll just copy and paste it. And then we can do menu.render. We can do, I think I had like UI render Sokoban, yeah. So there's that. And then what I want to do is I want to kind of take this logic and I'm going to actually put it in the menu update function. This is, again, we're going to go in parts here. We're just trying to get back what we had before when we started making these switches, and then we'll come back. So if user input is equal to, sorry, that was a JavaScript, triple equals there for a second, we'll return state game. Okay. So we're going to try that and see if it works. First, we'll try compiling, and you can see it failed. And it's because it's looking for UI render menu. So we'll go into here, UI header file, UI render menu. I think that will be fine. And then we'll go into here. Oh yeah, because I didn't delete this. And yeah, so let's try that now. And so now we'll call Sokoban. Oh, did it again. Level 1. So now you can see we have our original thing. I'm going to press like ASD a bunch of times, nothing happens. If I press enter, we're back in the game. And now we'll check if restart still works. I don't know why it wouldn't have, but everything still works. So we can keep going. So the next thing that I want to do basically is I want to have some behavior where the user can do something else other than just press enter on the main screen. Because ultimately we're going to go to like a level select screen, but I also want to include instructions and some basics. We're not going to get to instructions in this video, but we are going to get to the interaction part of it. So I'm going to abandon this. I don't think I need anything more in here for now, but at some point, and probably in a video or two, we're going to change it so there's like a game header file and a game C++ file, but that is for a different time. So we're going to just keep this. We're not going to mess with this. And this is kind of where we're going to live for the rest of this video. So the first thing I want to do is I want to kind of just, I don't really love this design, but just do some globals. And it's just going to be this. And then we're going to have a set of const char stars or strings. And these are going to be the menu options, basically what we can actually do, right? And we're going to have two different options for now. We're going to have the option for the player to select play, and we're going to have the option for the player to press instructions. At some point, we'll actually use these. Well, at some point, we'll actually make it possible for the player to go to instruction screen, but we're not going to do instructions yet. And part of that will be going to the state file and actually updating it. But let's go to the menu functions. That way we can kind of see it. I'm going to kind of push it over a little bit. So everything's looking kind of good now, but now all of this kind of needs to go. And that's because we're going to have the user have a lot more options in terms of what they're going to be able to select. So the first one is going to be this one, which is just a space bar. And the next one is going to be the enter. And if so, right, we'll have a break. And then in here, we'll have switch. And then you remember this user selection. This user selection is linking to these two right here. So we have our user selection. Actually, sorry. No, I was right. So user selection. And this is basically determining the behavior that we're going to be expecting. So in case 0, we're going to expect the play. So in that case, we're going to return state, : game, and that's it. Otherwise, we're not actually going to do anything right now. Well, actually, we can be a little smart in terms of we're going to look for errors, and if we get them, we're going to say there was an error. So we'll do this, and then we're gonna say invalid menu selection index, something like that. And it's gonna be user selection index, and then we'll do an end line. And then what we'll call is exit, and we'll say there was an error. Okay, so that means we do actually have to handle this other case, which is this is going to be play, this is going to be instructions, right? But there's no instructions right now, so we'll add a to do, put in instructions, right? And then because we did that, we can kind of just remove these comments because it's pretty obvious that this is going to the game state and that we don't actually have anything in terms of these. Okay, cool. So now that we've handled the case of pressing something, right, we need to get to the next thing, which is we're going to handle the case of where if they are on the play state or like the play option right over here or the instruction state. And so in that case, we're going to have to bind a couple keys. I'm going to say case W for WASD, where W is going up, and then S is for going down. But we also have the other case of case 3. And as a note, ncurses has like key up, but when I was trying to get it to work before this, I wasn't able to get it work. There's something where they recommend you do like a, you can like initialize the screen to be able to handle special keys, but that wasn't working, at least on a Mac. So there may be some OS stuff going on here, but I just found if I make it case 3, that was working. But I actually do need this this one thing. So let me actually UI C++ for a second. And this is keypad standard screen, and it's basically saying you should do something special with this. So anyways, so that allows this 3 to work, but again, key up was not working for whatever reason. So something to come back to at some point probably, but for now, let's just keep it going. So in this case, what we're going to do is we're doing an up. So in terms of this, we would expect it to go up 1, right, to -1. So the way we could do that is we could call index -1. But the problem here is what if, and just actually this should be an int. This should be an int, and so we can go negative just in case. Actually, yeah. Should be an int. Okay. Sorry about that. So we can do index -1 and user selection, sorry. We can do user selection -1, and then what we can do is we can mod it to by the menu size. And then that will basically make it so if we go to -1, it will wrap around and go back to here, I believe. The next thing is we want to handle the down arrow, so case S, case 2, user selection, and it's the same exact thing, right? Except instead of plus, or instead of minus, we're going to do plus, And then we'll also mod it by the menu size, because if it goes over, we want to go back to 0. Okay, so that's going to be that. And I believe that's it for this one. But we also have to get into rendering. So basically with rendering, what we want to do is we want to loop through these. I'm going to keep this right here, right? But after this part, we're actually not going to keep around. So I'm going to take this, do this, right? And I'm going to actually go into the UI C++ file, and we're going to have, I'm going to do kind of what I talked about before. Let me actually, I think I should do it here. Menu or UI highlighted, we'll make it 0. And for this one, UI regular, we'll make it 1. And we'll do an init pair. And we'll do UI highlighted, and we'll make it color black. Let's make it. We'll just, or color, yeah, let's try that. And color white. And then for UI regular, we'll make it the exact opposite. So color white and color black. Okay, so we're going to use these two in just a second. I want to basically get the color pair. So this is, we'll do like regular is equal to menu, or what did I name it again? Yeah, UI regular. So I think I actually need to, yeah. How do I want to do this? I'm going to do this. A there. UI header file. Right. Now this goes away. Now I can fix this typo. Okay. And now I can take in UI regular, right? And then I can also make highlighted, or not get, but get is the better word for there. I can do that, right? And for the title, I'm just going to make it regular. Regular. Okay. So now what we're doing, right, is we're printing out the title, but we're not actually doing anything with the rest. So I'm going to make an int max y divided by 2. That is wrong, y like this, right? And so that means we're going to be starting our menu options from the middle of the screen exactly. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do int I is equal to 0. We'll do I. What did I make this? We'll make it a size t then. Yeah, I think that's going to be fine, is equal to I less than menu size plus I. And then what we can do, first we need to move. So we'll do move to y. And then in terms of where we want to be in this, we want to get to the middle based on the length of the string, right? So it's going to be max x minus strlen, and then we'll do menu options I, and then we'll divide that by 2. Seems good to me. And then what we can do is we can actually print it. So if I is equal to user selection, right? This means we're going to be in the highlighted one. So we'll do highlight. And then we can do off. And in the other case, we're also going to have this, but we're going to actually just print this real quick because that just is smarter. Menu options I, like that. And then I'm going to put this there. Well, actually, it's a little silly. So in this one, we're just going to do regular. Okay. So we're printing out Sokoban, and the one thing that's going to happen here is we're not actually changing y right now. So we'll do y plus equals 2 because we wanted to go further down. And we're just going to try this and see if we pulled it off. So far, so good. We'll do a level 1 just to see what happens. And you can see we definitely have an error where this thing is not going where we think it should be going. So I'm going to assume that's this right here. And strlen, so it's this. You can see we're dividing by 2 on the string length rather than the whole thing. So that's why we were getting something off there. So now if we make it, we can run it, and you can see we have something that's almost working, but we're not actually going where. So if I press up, we're working. So just for context here, I haven't pressed anything. If I press space now, we'll go right into it. If I do it again, and if I press down, right, now all of a sudden we're in the instructions part, but you can see there's nothing happening, which is what we expect, but the visualization isn't working. So let's figure that out, where we have highlighted and regular. Let me go into here, UI C++, and you can see we have color white, color black. That seems fine to me in terms of what I want. Maybe we test real quick where this is at, so, and then we'll make the highlighted just the capital B, just to see what happens. Okay, so that is working correctly, which is what we wanted. So if I press enter here, no dice. If I press play, there, all good. And that is fine. So let's see if I can figure this out real quick. Otherwise, I'll just cut the video here and I can come back to it in the next time. And in the next video, what I'll do is I'll start by fixing this to figure out whatever the problem was. And then what we'll go into is actually implementing the level instruction screen. That'll be the next video. And then in the following one, we'll get to a level select screen. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope there was something slightly informative. I hope watching me not figure out what the exact problem with this is was maybe entertaining. But yeah, I hope everybody has a good one. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.